Good day, class. Welcome back. I hope you had a lovely weekend. This week, we are going to focus on two things for Essay 3. One, your interview questions, and two, survey questions. Now, first I want to talk to you about the interview questions. The interview questions, those are 10 open-ended questions, are due tonight to the Dropbox titled Interview Questions. Now, after you submit those tonight, you will receive feedback tomorrow on your interview questions. You need to make any changes that I recommend. You do not need to resubmit them unless I say you do. Those are only for those that have a lot of errors that need to be fixed, but most of you will not have to resubmit. Just make the changes, and then you are going to conduct your interview. You will be interviewing one person, so you need to choose one person from your population. Remember, the population is the larger group. Okay, you're going to choose one person from that population, and that will be your sample for the interview. You will interview one person, and you need to ask them all 10 questions. Now, I want to go over some rules about interviewing with you. Now, remember when we talked about initial credibility, derived credibility, and terminal credibility. Those same things apply to interviews. So in an essay, initial credibility, that's the beginning of your essay. That's before you really even begin to write very much, okay? And that initial credibility is how you establish that rapport, that connection, okay, with the reader so they trust you. So in an essay, that's your formatting, the beginning of your introduction, okay, all of those little things that kind of give us that first impression. When you're giving an interview, or the one conducting an interview, rapport is very important, that initial credibility, that first impression. So you want to make sure when you set up the interview that you start establishing that rapport. That means when you contact the person you want to interview. So make sure that you are polite, you request the interview, you let them know why you're interviewing them, so what is the topic, and that it's for a class project. And then when you actually set the day and the time for the interview, you want to make sure that you are then on time for the interview. Now, I hope that you can interview the person face-to-face using video chat. I know we're all maintaining social distancing, so you won't be doing this in person unless you live with the person you're interviewing. I want you to do a video chat. So you could use Tango, you could use video chat on WhatsApp or FaceTime, whatever you choose to use. I want you to do a video chat. Now, if you absolutely can't video chat because you're in a quarantine facility and maybe the connection is lower, then you can talk to them on the phone. But I do want you to try to do a video chat if you can. And when you first see them, make sure that you greet them. Say, hello, how are you? Thank you so much for accepting my request at an interview. I'd like to begin by asking you about, say something like that to kind of ease them into the interview without just starting with, hi, here's my first question. You want to ease them into it, have a good first impression, make sure you thank them before you get started because they are giving you their time, and then ask them the questions. Now, the beginning part is all part of your initial credibility. When you start asking the questions, that becomes part of your derived credibility. And with an interview, you want to be sure that you ask the questions clearly, so review them again before you give your interview. Go ahead and read your questions because you have them phrased correctly. So read them a question and then wait and let them respond. And if they don't give much of a response, be prepared with a follow-up question. And I've mentioned those, but a follow-up question could be something like, can you explain that? Or do you have any other details? Or can you give me an example? So that they give you some additional information, and that lets them know that they are free to talk more. Sometimes people feel like the need to rush if you're asking questions, and you want to get as much information as possible. Show that you're listening by not asking a question they've already responded to. Now, sometimes when people are answering one question, they will provide information that actually answers another question on your list. And if that happens, that's just fine. Don't ask that question again, because they've already given you the information to it. You want to show that you're listening. And again, that's part of your derived credibility, is you're acknowledging that they're listening. After they respond to a question, go ahead and say something like, oh, very good, or thank you. Now, if you are on a video chat, nodding, okay, shows that you're listening, smiling, saying that's interesting, kind of acknowledge that you're hearing them speak, okay? It's part of your derived credibility. Now, at the end of the interview, when you're wrapping things up, make sure that you tell them thank you, how much you appreciate it, this helps with your schoolwork. You know, say something at the end that acknowledges the effort they've put into the interview, and that also helps with your terminal credibility. because you're wrapping things up, you're showing gratitude, and you've maintained kind of that professional persona throughout the entire process. Now, a couple of other things that play into your credibility overall: the background. So it's important to be cognizant of what you have going on behind you. I know many of us are working from home or taking classes from home, so you want to pay special attention to what's going on around you when you're doing an interview. If you have other people that you're living with, you might let them know that you are conducting an interview and ask them to be a little more quiet while this is going on so there's nothing distracting. You don't want to have anything distracting going on in the background. So choose a background that is calm or that is not distracting so that you can stay focused on what it is you're discussing. Now, you will need to conduct the interview this week. Your interview is due next Monday. So that means you need to have conducted your interview by next Monday. That's in a week. And you will submit your notes on the interview. Those are the responses they gave you to the questions, but your notes that you took of their responses, do not email them the questions. This is an interview, okay? So you will write down your notes and you will submit your notes. Now, if you are typing your notes, then you'll submit your typed notes. If you're handwriting them, I know some people handwrite their notes, you can just take a picture of that and submit your handwritten notes. To the same Dropbox, you will also be submitting an interview evaluation, and that is an evaluation of your credibility throughout the interview. So that's how the interview went and how you established your initial credibility, how you maintained your derived credibility, and how you ended it with terminal credibility. So you'll be responding to those questions, and those questions are posted under news. And that will be due next Monday. So in the same Dropbox, you'll have your notes and on the interview, as well as your interview evaluation. So those are answers to questions that I will give you about the interview and how that process went. If you have any questions about the interview or the interview process, please reach out to me. Feel free to contact me with any questions you have via WhatsApp. You can message me if you're still in the States, or feel free to send me an email to my UCO email address. Now I want to talk to you about your survey. Now, your survey is something you are starting this week, and this will be due this Thursday, and that's just the survey questions. Remember, you turned in your interview questions today, so you'll have survey questions due on Thursday. Those are just the questions. You're not giving out the survey yet. Now, the survey is made up of different kinds of questions. The purpose of a survey is to get a good breadth of information. And I want us to talk a little bit about those questions that you'll be asking. The first set of questions are called descriptive questions, and those give you the descriptive statistics, so information about the group you are surveying. Now, your population is the group you selected, so let's say that you chose to talk about Ayers Cafeteria. So you are then looking at people who eat at Ayers Cafeteria, maybe people on the meal plan. Okay, so students on the meal plan at UCO, or whatever your population is. For this, we'll say students on the meal plan at UCO. Now, that's your population. Now, your sample is a small group of people from your population. So for the surveys, you will have a sample size of 10. That means you'll be giving out 10 surveys later on. Now, you're not doing that yet. Right now, you're just creating the questions, but that is called your sample size, is the number of people from your population that you are surveying. Now, your survey begins with the descriptive questions that help us get to know those 10 individuals better. Now, we know that they are students at UCO who are on a meal plan and eat at Ayers Cafeteria, because that's the population I chose. Now, your population will be different, but I'm going to use that as an example. So you don't need to ask them that. You don't need to say, do you have a meal plan, if they were selected because they have a meal plan. But you might ask what type of meal plan they have. So what type of meal plan do you have? And then give them the different meal plan options to select from. You could also ask them, how many times do you eat at Ayers Cafeteria during a week? And give them options. Okay, so you could say 1 to 2 times, 3 to 4, give them some options. You could ask them if they have any special dietary requirements, and then give them options like vegan, vegetarian, halal, kosher, okay, gluten-free, and let them check the options that apply to them. Now, the purpose of these questions is not to find out what they think about Ayers Cafeteria, but to find out information about their connection to it. So like I said, for this particular example, finding out what type of meal plan they have or their dietary requirements, all of that plays into who they are and why they may be answering certain questions the way they did. So you'll have a set of descriptive questions that you ask, and you need to provide answer options for each. Next, you'll have yes or no questions. Now, yes or no questions are just as they sound. Okay, they are fixed response questions where people can answer yes or no. Now, these are questions that are specific to your topic. These are not part of the descriptive questions. So you will select 2 questions that they can say yes or no to, and give them the yes or no options to select. Again, every question on the survey has to have answer options, with the exception of open-ended questions that I'll talk about in a little bit. Now, you will have fixed response questions, and fixed response means that you have a select number of answers for them to choose from. Okay, they're not open-ended, and these can be questions that are ranked. So for instance, you could say, Ayers Cafeteria often offers, and then list the types of foods that they offer. So it could be pizza, hamburgers, salads, it could be, like a stir-fry dish, whatever it is that they offer. List, 5 to 10 different options and tell them to rank them, 1 through 5 or 1 through 10, 1 being the one they like the most, and 5 or 10 being the one they like the least, and they rank them. So you can have ranked questions. Also, Likert scale questions. Now, Likert scale questions are the questions that are scaled. So the answers have to be scaled in an ascending order. That means they go up. So I'll give you an example of that. If you were to say, do you ever invite friends or family from off campus to eat with you at Ayers Cafeteria? If the answer is yes, how often? And then you could have 1 to 2 times a month, 3 to 4 times a month, 5 to 6 times a month. So it goes up. That's ascending. You could also ask questions that have responses like never, occasionally, sometimes, frequently, all the time. That's also Likert scale, and since never is the lowest and all the time would be the most, it's again ascending. And so those are Likert scale questions where they choose one response. At the end of the survey, you can choose 2 of your open-ended questions that you used in your interview, and you can ask those. So you can have to have 2 open-ended questions, and you can include those at the end of your survey. Now, all the instructions for the survey plus a sample survey are under news, so make sure you review those. And if you have any questions about creating your survey questions, please contact me. Pay special attention to the format. You do need to format the survey like the sample with all the answer options and everything formatted just like the sample. Do not change the format, so make sure you follow that closely. And those are due, again, this Thursday. So your survey questions are due Thursday. Now, after I give you feedback, I'll be giving you feedback for your survey questions on Friday. When I give you feedback for your survey questions, then you fix those questions that needed to be revised, those answer responses that need to be revised, and then you can give out your survey to people in your population. So 10 people from your population, your sample, you can give those to them. You can email them your survey. You can create a survey on SurveyMonkey. You can use the Facebook survey option. They have kind of the Facebook questionnaire that you can create. However you choose to give out the survey is just fine, as long as you have 10 people that reply that fit that group that you're looking at. And again, you are not to do that until after you've received your feedback on Friday, and then you're free to go ahead and give those out. If you have any questions, please do let me know. I am here for you. I think you all are awesome. You're doing a great job so far this semester. I hope you have a wonderful week. Goodbye, farewell, and I look forward to seeing you soon.